Hi, Brenda.
Hey, Betsy. It's been a little bit since we were together, but
It is.
there's been a lot going on since then.
We've both been traveling and
Yes,
all over the place.
that's true.
Having a
Mm.
graduate, having a family wedding, which, by the way, got the family picture.
That's awesome.
Nailed it.
Yes, I did want to point out, though, it's a great picture. I love it. But I
I
noticed that your husband had his sunglasses on the whole time.
This world
He-
is so bright.
I loved it.
What's even funnier is that I made sure that the kids brought clothes to change into,
Yeah.
and it was a really cool thing. And everybody participated. And they were
Yeah.
super cranky, even though we were in, I don't know, 100-degree weather.
Mhm.
Some of them had long pants on, shirts, long sleeves on for the moment that we took the picture. But yeah, so I was making sure that all the kids were taken care of, and I did not even notice that he had sunglasses on his face. He
Ah,
did not notice either. I think we were both so, okay,
let's
get
do this.
everybody together. We
Yes.
made it real
Hurry up and get
quick.
it done so we don't
Yeah.
have to bother everyone. And
Yeah.
it was
Yeah, well,
totally him, though. So it made sense.
yeah.
He likes to rock those sunglasses, and
does.
I think
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. That's how
Yeah.
future is bright. That's awesome. As we were talking about ideas, I think this is timely because we have kids that are right now trying to get jobs.
Yes, their
Real
first
jobs.
real job
Yeah.
after college.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so Brenda and I were talking about how easy it was to get our first job coming out of school, and everything was perfect. And so we wanted to share that with you.
It's so perfect. I look at you like, wait,
Yeah.
did we talk about that being perfect? Yes.
So we thought we would talk a little bit about the woes of our first job. We'll add a little bit about imposter syndrome as you're going through the interviewing process. It's easy to have that imposter syndrome
Yeah.
rear its ugly head. And so just a little bit about how we navigated some of that. And we have some wonderful stories. So let's get started.
We do. We have some experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interviewing.
For me, I had an internship when I was in college, my senior year, and went through the
So
process.
just really quick on that, I just had this conversation with my son. That's so important to get internships in
It's
college, and it's
huge.
not easy.
No, it is not. It's very competitive.
Yeah.
Even more so today. Like you and I talked, it's just so much harder, I feel like,
Yeah,
than
I
when we were
agree.
going
I agree.
through college. Yeah, I went to our career center
Yeah.
and searched a bunch of different types of internships.
Yeah.
I found a few that I liked. I applied. And then I had to interview for them. And then I did end up getting the one that I wanted. So that was great.
Yeah.
But it was very nerve-wracking.
And it's almost like a special club when you get, because now they do a lot of internships. It depends on your industry a little bit, but in our
Mhm.
industries, in CPG world and in marketing, they do classes almost of internships,
Yeah.
which I actually like. I think it's very successful to do it that way because you have interns then have like groups of people they know. When you're just one, it's scary.
It
right?
is.
And you don't acclimate as much to the organization when it's just one. We found that if you had more than one person in a different geography that was doing the internship, that they would typically bond together. Potentially, you could get them to relocate there later as
Mhm.
real. I get all of it, but it's tough. So you got it.
I got
Yay.
it. It was great. I loved it. I was super eager. It was a corporate advertising department for a
Awesome.
retailer. And advertising marketing is what I wanted to go into. So it was perfect for me. I made lots of connections. I was super eager to help
Yeah.
do whatever I could, learn everything that I could at the time. I tried to be upbeat and motivated so that they would remember me maybe down the road.
Yeah. Because
And
a
I
lot
did-
of times that will work. Just
Absolutely.
as their way of being able to wean out the people that they might not want to have work for them in future state.
Exactly. And a lot of times
Yeah.
it turns into a full-time position.
Yeah. It just depends if the moons and stars align though, right?
Yes.
There have to be jobs open.
Exactly.
I tell people this all the time. Not all new jobs happen to open up in May.
No, they do not.
And that's when
No.
the lion's share of people graduate. It's
And
tough.
that's my journey was similar to what you're saying.
Yeah.
I had this internship, went really well, but there was not a full-time job at the end.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to a smaller company as an engineering assistant just to get my foot in the door. It was a great company, really nice people. I learned a lot about sales, customer service. It wasn't in advertising and marketing, but at the time I
Yeah.
needed a
You're like,
job
I
and
just need a
I
job
yep,
and maybe I can make this turn into something later.
exactly. So it was probably less than a year. I would say about 7 months, and I got a call from the internship company that I
Perfect.
was with,
Yeah.
and they had an opening in the advertising department.
That's awesome.
It was for an assistant job again, not where I wanted to end up, but at the time, I wanted a stepping stone.
Yeah. You
I
just need
wanted
to
a way
get
back
in.
in.
Yeah.
So because they had remembered me from my internship
Yeah.
and apparently liked the work that I did and my attitude, things like that, they offered me a job. So
That's
I
awesome.
started there. I went back there and then I moved. I just kept going and moved myself up through different positions.
Yeah.
And I ended up in a newly created department that they handpicked some people for. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I'm just trying to let
Yeah.
people know that just keep going and you'll
Right.
get to where you want to be
People will
eventually.
notice. You'll get
Exactly.
noticed by the hard work, by
Yes.
staying focused, by staying dedicated. Have career goals
Mhm.
of where you want to go if you're on the right path. Be aware if you might want to deviate from that. Oh, hey, that sounds interesting. Who
Yes.
knows? I might want to try that. But yeah, if
You just
keep
want
going.
I want my kids to understand too that you do not have to get that first dream job right out
Yeah.
of college. As a matter of fact, you probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
You need to get all these stepping stone experiences and different avenues so that you grow and you learn what you want to do. Maybe that job you thought was what your dream job would be is not really where you want to you
Right. You
end
get
up.
there and then you're like,
Oh,
oh,
this is
this is
not. And
no.
you don't want to step right into it because then 40 years down the line, you might be bored.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah. Your career is
how,
super long.
how about you? What was your first foray?
Yeah. At Michigan State, they have a student services building where you do all your interviews and everything.
Mm,
And you can go and all the jobs would post on the boards up front. This is very long, long time
yes.
ago. Right now, you have all the different digitized ways to actually find it.
Like a piece of paper was put up on a bulletin board,
Yes, a
right? And
piece
you
of paper with the job
exactly.
description was put up on the bulletin board. We're going very old school here. And it had little tags with, no, I'm just kidding. So it would talk about the job description and then you would sign up for an interview at a certain time slot and the recruiters would come into the actual building.
Oh, okay.
And then all the students that signed up at the different time slots would come in. There were a lot of career fairs and things like that too, that you could also do interviews, but this was the main way that you used your connections through the university to get in with different organizations. It was a very tough time in the industry when I graduated a long time ago, but there were a lot of interviews. I bet Brenda, I did, I'm not exaggerating, at least 50 interviews,
Wow.
at least. And I can remember calling my dad and saying, Dad, it's just not going to happen. He was like, what do you mean it's not going to happen? All of us are students trying to get a small number of jobs. We all look the same. What do you mean you all look the same? And I'm like, we're all sitting in the lobby in blue suits. All of us have done our best to fill our resume with all
Right.
sorts of experiences. I had a couple different internships. I did a services industry internship over a summer. And then during the school year, I worked at my most favorite place ever, Melting Moments. They have the best ice cream sandwiches. And they actually had a shop on Red River at the time. And
Yeah.
I did a marketing internship there and absolutely loved it. I still, if we go into the different sports arenas, they have the ice cream sandwiches still that they sell. And the kids hear that story all the time. Yep, I know, Bob.
You worked there.
But all of us did our best to fill up our resumes with a lot of different experiences. So I would go into these interviews and look like the same person just came in. And how do you stand out? He's okay. First of all, you need to find a way to stand out. I'm like, I don't know. He's just don't wear blue. And I'm like, oh,
It's great advice.
great advice.
Yeah.
So I went and got myself a purple suit. Love purple. Why
That
not?
does not surprise me either.
Exactly.
Betsy in purple.
Yes. So I can even remember at one point in time back then, and again, this is really aging me. We didn't have computers. We didn't have email. Your thank yous were an actual card. And
Right.
the more professional was a typed card. We didn't have any way to type on that. So I had the very fancy word processor at the time. And I can remember sitting in my dorm room and typing thank you to all of these different people that I had interviewed with. One of my interviews, I walked in and I was so frustrated. At the end, they said, do you have any questions before we go? And I said, yeah, can you just tell me whether or not you're going to let me know if I didn't get the job? Because I've been through a lot of interviews and I don't ever hear. So it'd be great if you would let me know. Brenda, I didn't get the job.
No. And you
they
didn't hear.
didn't tell me. You know,
Oh,
it's like, okay,
oh my
I tell the kids
goodness.
all the time, this is what not to do.
Do
Please
not
don't.
say this.
No.
But that is a great point because my daughter just went through an interviewing process and she
Yeah.
got very far into the
Yeah.
process. And I know people get busy and things like that, but it was just the waiting and the not hearing that was really the
It's
worst.
brutal.
So,
It's brutal. You go through quite a few, and then you have your dream job, and you've put your heart and soul into this, and then you don't hear. You're like, oh,
every day, every minute,
yeah.
you're
Talk about imposter
refreshing your
syndrome, right?
email.
And it just keeps
Yeah.
building up and building up. You're
Yes.
like, maybe I'm not qualified for some of these
Right.
gigs.
Or
Maybe
thought
I
it went
don't.
so well and I felt so
Yeah.
good about it
Yeah.
and they seem to really like me. And then there's
Yes.
it's just everything's so
Yeah.
competitive. And so it's
Well, it's
really
so
hard.
competitive, but then also just because we both spent some time on the other side of it, on the hiring side of it, things happen. You might have
Yes.
had a job, and then all of a sudden you don't have a job.
Yeah,
In the corporate world, not everything goes to plan. The
exactly.
best laid plan on who you're going to hire, what the roles are that you're going to
Mhm.
hire for, and how your structure is going to look doesn't happen always the way that you want it to. That's when you're promoting from within, whether you're hiring from outside. They probably did love your daughter. It
And that
just might not be that the moons and stars aligned for her
exactly.
at that time.
Yeah. Or
It just
and
happens.
exactly. And or someone else had just that little bit more experience that they were looking
Right,
for.
right,
But
right.
yes, I do believe that they
You
probably
just can't give up. So I didn't
exactly.
give up. I kept at it. And eventually my job. There were some companies that actually went very
Mhm.
far into the process. And then you did the personality testing. Oh my goodness. Second guessing some of the things that I would put down. I
Yes.
probably ended up looking like a psychopath because I was questioning everything that I would put in the personality test. Somebody recently told me, you can't answer those wrong. And
Right.
like, I felt like I was answering the questions
Yes.
wrong.
I have also participated in one of those as well and felt the same. Wait, should I put this or should I
Then
put
you're
this? I'm
overthinking the
not.
whole thing.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, so I got my first job, and I will share the first job that I got was with Frito-Lay. And I was pretty proud because I do love Frito-Lay as a company. I think they're
Mhm.
great and they're a wonderful organization to work for. But I was brand new out of college, and my first job was driving a truck, delivering potato chips. And I worked at a union branch, and I was one of two females in the branch.
Wow.
And so it was a lot for me to transition from college into first day work. I reported to work at 3:30 in the morning to drive it wasn't a semi, it was a cube van. I can remember, and again, this was a very long time ago and times are much different. When you do chip deliveries, you load them up in the back of your truck. Chips are light by nature, but they're a little bit more bulky. Usually on your cart, you would put 8 boxes total,
Okay.
two stacks of 4. And then you would drop it down. So you would jump off the back end of the truck and just drop the chips down. They would come off pretty easily. It looked much harder than it actually was physically. And I'm not a big wimp, but I'm certainly not very tall.
You're a little bit on the shorter side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because the
So I-
boxes may have been as tall as you or taller.
Correct.
Okay.
So I'm back there about ready to drop down the chips, and an older gentleman came by in a truck, and I said, "Can I help you?" And he was like, "No, I just want to see if you can do this." I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
My goodness.
I'm like, "Oh, wow." So this is where we are.
This is where we are.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I dropped down the chips and went on my way and didn't even give him a second glance. I was like, that's not even cool, man.
Not cool.
So that was tough. The other female only lasted probably a month or two. It was one of the hottest summers. It's a tough job. Hats off to all individuals out there who do
Mhm.
retail store deliveries.
Very taxing, I'm sure.
The very first summer, it was July 3rd, and I had plans on July 3rd. So at the end of the day, you would load up your truck for the next day. On July 3rd, I was done, and I was working probably 80 hours. It was a big transition for me. I had finished my route and wanted to go to whatever activity I had that I wanted to be at. And so I said, I'll just come back tomorrow when I don't have plans and load up my truck. You have keys to the warehouse. You can hop in. The next day happened to be July 4th. And this is before cell phones. This is before any type of way to communicate with each other. It was July 4th. I went back, I loaded up my truck, and I went to leave and locked my car keys inside the DC.
Oh, no.
Yep, here I am,
Oh.
beauty. I've locked myself
Oh.
without a cell phone or any way of communicating with anyone, so I cannot leave. So I walked to the local Chuck E. Cheese where they had a payphone right outside. I believe it was Chuck E. Cheese. It was some kid's venue. They had a payphone with a phone book.
I
Yes,
remember those
this is
days.
exactly. This is very old. So I sat in this phone booth and literally went down the entire phone book to try to find people from the DC, calling them on July 4th, a holiday that we were all supposed to be on vacation, to see if someone could come and let me in. Can you believe the only person who answered the phone was the union steward?
Oh, wow.
Bad news.
Oh, no.
Knew it wasn't a really good fit, and I started to explore different options.
But yeah, a great stepping stone for you in a
Yeah.
way, a way
Oh,
to
yeah.
get all that experience. And
100%.
yeah, it's for
Yeah,
sure.
and it helped me to know what I wanted and what I didn't, because then I was like, you know what, maybe I don't want CPG. Maybe I need to go into the service industry. And so I found a job leasing apartments with people who had marketing degrees, and it was in the service industry versus the product industry. I thought maybe I would like it because of my experience, but I did not like it at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I've tried this new
Right.
idea.
Exactly. It's a lot of trial and error
Yeah.
too. And
Yeah.
that's, again, what we try to tell our kids. It's okay if the first few jobs are not amazing. You will learn something from
100%.
each of those situations, and it will propel you toward where you're supposed to go.
And the other thing is your career is so stinking long. How many
Yes.
years do you work? Real job.
A lot.
A lot. So
Yeah.
you have to work up to some of these different experiences and scenarios. In my career, I always had a rule of, and I've shared this with many people that I've mentored over the years, a 2-year rule. Try to do each gig for 2 years. Sometimes you can, sometimes you
All
can't.
right.
But
Try at
round up,
least.
round down.
Yeah, to
Don't be
stay.
in a hurry, because if you hurry through your career, you're going to get to the end and then you got 20 more years. What am I going to do now?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it's going to get really boring to do this job for that long, or I've got to find other ways to excite me.
Exactly,
years.
because if you do that, some people may feel a little less motivated as they get into their 20, 30 years. You always want to stay fresh and motivated in your job. I've had several jobs throughout the years, and I've been at my current company for quite a long time, but there's always something I feel like new and exciting that's coming
Yeah,
up.
you
So,
have a different, because of your industry, you
Mhm.
deal with different scenarios.
Yes.
So
Right.
the completely different things that
Yes.
you're working with to be able to create some excitement.
It definitely keeps things interesting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, it's been great though, too, because I've been able to be there for the moments that matter,
Yeah.
right? In
Yeah.
both work and home.
Yeah.
And so I'm very thankful for that I've had that flexibility
Yeah.
to do that.
To
So
make a difference where you want to.
yes.
What's funny is we've talked a lot about this too. Building your network throughout that time is so
Yes.
important as well.
It-
And I've talked a lot to people about that as they've been growing their career. Just because you leave a company, or especially in CPG, the industry is very small. People who will leave the companies that you work with, you'll see later down the road, whether
Absolutely.
it be you with a different company or someone else.
Yes.
I'm sure it's similar in your industry.
It is.
But the way that I actually did land with Kraft Heinz when I finally did get that job and left the service industry was by leasing an apartment to someone who I knew from Michigan State that came in to lease an apartment with one of her reloads. So she came in and I was like, hey, what are you up to? Working for, it was Kraft at the time. And I'm like, oh, no kidding.
Hey,
Yeah.
yes.
She's like, yeah.
Wow.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I got my first opportunity. That was a funny interview too. Interviews when you've been referred by someone are so different than interviews when you don't know them.
They are.
You actually can get so much more out of that conversation.
Yes, I agree. And I feel like they know you already.
Right.
It's already a higher comfort level.
Yeah. You can
So-
actually dig further into,
Right.
will
Instead of
this
the
be
surface
something
level
that
stuff that
works?
they
Yeah.
always ask. I
Yeah.
agree. Yes.
Yeah. In that interview, here's a funny story. So the person who referred me, she was traveling for work. And so I was watching her apartment while she was gone. She had an animal. I had the keys to her apartment. I was going in to check on everything while she was gone. So at the end of my interview, and the person I was interviewing with was also her manager, he said, you're watching so-and-so's apartment, right? And I'm like, yeah, yep, she's been gone. I've been checking it out. Okay, I need the printer from her apartment. Do you think that I could follow you over after the interview to the apartment so that I could get that printer because it's supposed to go to someone else and we just haven't been able to connect.
Oh my
Isn't that
goodness.
hilarious?
Oh my
And
god.
again, this is back when there was no cell phone. Why
Right,
couldn't
so
you
you
just
can't
call up
call
my
her
friend
and
and
say,
say,
"Hey."
hey,
Yeah.
I really want to impress this guy. I've got the keys on me. I feel like this would really seal the deal to drive over to this place and get the I've
Yeah.
saved his day on this printer. But yeah, no, it was crazy. I did. Yeah. He was like, okay, yeah, you're the printer solver.
Alright,
One of the
now you
best
have the job.
managers.
Alright, awesome.
Yeah, exactly. One of the best managers ever. So
That's
build your network. Never burn bridges. They always say
never
this.
burn bridges.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Come in,
sometimes you might feel like you want to, but
do
do not do
not.
that. You never know
Yeah.
when you're going to run into that person
No.
again,
No.
or they will talk to someone else who's trying to
Exactly.
give you a job, and
Yeah.
yes,
It's you just don't know where your future's gonna go. So some key lessons, right? Career's
exactly.
long. Don't give up. Don't believe you're not qualified to do this. And
You're
in
not
fact,
good
somebody
enough, you can't
asked me
do it.
recently, what's the difference? So when you're offered a opportunity and you don't have each opportunity, you have permission to learn in that role. You don't
Yes.
have to know how to do the job
Mhm.
in order to go into the job. And sometimes our imposter syndrome rears its ugly head in those scenarios where you're like, I don't really know enough about this new job to go and tackle it.
Yeah.
You just have to be really careful that what you're saying to yourself isn't, I can't learn. And instead, I'm going to give myself permission to learn in this new role. Here are the skills that I've learned in these previous roles that are going to help set me up for success in that new one. And I'm going to give myself permission to learn some of these other nuggets to be able to make myself great in this new role. Because when you struggle from that imposter syndrome, you're sure that you're never going to be qualified enough to go to that next step. And I think it's tough then for people to take a next step.
It's tough, and I will tell you that some people struggle with that off and on throughout their career.
Oh, for sure.
Because, for
If you don't,
example, you're in an interview and you're talking about yourself and all these things that you can do, and you're thinking, wait, am I going to be good enough at that? Am I selling myself too much, which you have to do? And, you
it's
have
so
to do it.
uncomfortable, isn't it?
It's so uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but you have to do it. And then even throughout your career, someone might say, oh, Brenda, she's really good at the details. So give this to her. And then, am I
Yeah.
good at this?
Yeah.
Or
Isn't
you're
that
always
funny?
like, for me, this is my own personal downfall sometimes, is I feel like I bring a lot to the table, hard worker, have your back. I will learn anything. My work ethic is up there, but I don't sometimes the confidence in myself
Isn't it funny
all
when
the
you
way
go through
through.
a 360 review or just a feedback from your manager or feedback from your employees or peers, whatever it might be, and they give you one of your strengths and you're like, I had no idea.
You're
I
surprised.
did that.
Yes, I feel surprised,
Yeah.
I guess, a lot.
Really well in
I'm
my career.
yes.
So I don't want to sell ourselves
No.
short with any of this, but at the same time,
No.
it's taken a little bit. You have to stay humble, but you also have to have that confidence that you got here with
Yes.
all of the skills that you've worked so hard to accomplish for all these years. And
Yes.
just believe in yourself. At the end of the
Exactly.
day, just believe in
And
yourself.
but definitely know that if you are feeling that way, you're not alone. I'm in my 50s. Just say that underneath my breath.
over 30.
Over 35, I'll say. And there are still times where I feel that way.
And I think social media has made it worse, right? It's the same for our kids when
Yes,
they're growing
sure.
up. People don't normally post. This is what motivated us to even do this podcast, right?
Yeah,
It's the fact that you don't hear all of the stories of the things that didn't go right.
exactly.
And so you hear all of your peers when you get out of college. If we had to post half the stuff as we were going through those woes, I'd taken multiple steps back in my career to be able to get more experiences so that I was better for that next gig.
Exactly.
Whether that was when I started out or that was when I was growing my career throughout the years.
But you didn't
but
have
I
to
don't-
show it
I
and
don't-
blast it out there on the
Exactly.
internet.
I didn't have
So
to
it was-
say, hey, I'm getting this new role and let me explain to you why I'm doing this or why I'm excited about this. All of our kids have this group to go and
Yes.
look and compare to.
Exactly.
And it's hard.
It is
It is
hard.
hard. So just let your internal voice be strong and know that the people around you just are posting all of their trials and tribulations that they had to go
Right.
through because they're out there. Everyone's done it,
Everyone's
has
done it.
that little question about whether or not they can do greatness. And if you just believe in yourself and keep at it and don't get so hung up on getting that great gig next, but working your way into greatness.
And then whatever you are doing, just try to be your best at it. Just
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah.
Whether it's
Work
the
hard.
job you wanted or not,
Yeah.
just show people that you
People
want to
notice.
be there
Yeah.
and that you're a hard worker, and no matter what it is, you will be there to,
You'll
you know,
stand
help
up and
lift
do
the
it, right?
company.
Whatever the job is that needs to be done, and
Yes.
help others, lead others.
And
To
that
have
will
a
lead to
positive
better things
attitude,
down
right?
the
Like,
road.
yeah,
Yeah.
positive attitude, all of that. The one thing that I do, I pride myself in this, and I actually hold my teams to this standard as well, is not doing half jobs. So if the job is to go and get this whatever accomplished, see it all the
Mhm.
way through.
Yes.
Don't just go part way. If
Mhm.
mom says, throw down the laundry, grab all that laundry that's in your room and throw it down, not just what's in the basket and not on the floor, or not leaving out what's in the bag, whatever it might be. Don't do a half job. Go grab all that laundry and throw it down. So think about that when you go to work, right? I'm going to go and get all of the things done that I need to get
Yes.
done. Dot my I's, crossing my
I'm not just going to do the one thing that was asked of me. I'm going
Yeah.
to make sure I do
Yeah,
more.
because people notice. Some of my opportunities weren't even my immediate manager that noticed. It was a
Right.
different department or a
Mhm.
different person who saw it that was like, wait a minute, I
That's
can
what
see
we're
that
looking
person.
for,
Yeah, that's
yes.
what I'm looking for, is
Yeah.
somebody to be able to help over there. So just keep at it. All right. That was probably a little bit more serious than what we normally do. But,
Yeah.
but Brenda and I know that right now it's just a time where everybody's trying to figure out how to get into some of those career moves that you want to do. And it's the season for graduation, and not all jobs come open in May. So be patient, work hard, keep your chin up. Things will
Yeah.
happen. Get your foot in the door.
Get your foot in the door
Yeah.
and work hard and be
Yeah.
motivated. Just,
All right.
okay.
The time has come. We'll close with our very familiar closing. Sometimes when things get tough, Mimo likes to say, just focus on lifting your coffee cup.
And drinking it one sip at a time.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.